دكتورة تيسير تسمعيني؟ كمان حاطة ميوت.
شالت الميوت.
مرحبا مرحبا دكتورة، تسمعيني؟ أهلا وسهلا بك من مدرج جامعة دمشق. المحاضرة الآن للدكتورة تيسير رزقي بعنوان kinetic changes on climbing stairs with wedged high heels. الدكتورة تيسير أستاذة في الهندسة الميكانيكية في المدرسة الوطنية للمهندسين بزيرت جامعة قرطاج بتونس. دكتورة تيسير عضو في مخبر الأبحاث، مخبر النظم والميكانيكا التطبيقية في المدرسة التونسية للتقنيات في جامعة قرطاج. تفضلي دكتورة تيسير.
So you can see my presentation.
اوكي تفضلي نسمعك.
Thank you for the presentation. So my talk today is about kinematics change on climbing stairs with wedged high heels as a study or a previous as primary study which can done in collaboration between our lab in system and applied mechanics in Tunisia and our partner, the University of Technology in Compiègne in France. So the basic context of our research is about footwears and basically high heels that women are frequently used for some social requirements such as work and also for physical attractiveness and some fashion impulses. It has been widely discussed about hazardous effect of human imbalance and some musculoskeletal alteration when using high heels in several conditions. And basically because of some deviation of center of gravity and center of pressures, also because of change and all alterations on contact and then joint function of different limbs and basically which required more muscle activities around, which gives some chronic damages such as back pains, foot pains, and also some orthosis on knee. So I said that wearing high heels are widely discussed and studied in research for several years, basically for walking activities. And basically when using thin heels, but today several types and characteristics of footwears are with different high heels and thickness have been developed for several use. And we have basically observed that wedged shoes are more frequently used because of some feeling of comfort, because the foot arch is totally supported by solid and thick pieces, contrary to thin heels in which the contact is basically small. But in research, few studies are studying stair clamping as a daily activity that we can done every day, and basically with wedged heels. So our problematic today, and the question we wanted to answer to is, may wearing wedged shoes may improve some stairgates patterns and give some feeling of comfort by studying effects of such heel in lower limb joint deviations, and also to investigate some compensatory mechanism in different steps of ascent stair cycle. As methodology, basically we use a motion analysis system to gather kinematics. So for this study, we have 5 volunteer women, young women that we have already experienced in wearing high heels, and they were asked to perform barefoot and high heel stair or upstairs with comfortable speed. For high heels, we use 2 types of shoes, thin heels and wedged one, with shoe size of or shoes length of around 23.7 centimeters, and 2 heights, moderate as 4.5 centimeters, and high heels such as 8.5 centimeters. So to collect data for kinematics, we put around 35 reflected markers on the whole of the body, and the 3D trajectory of such markers are gathered using 32 beacon camera, and the experimentation is conducted on the technology sport santé in University of Technology in Compiègne. For each test condition, we collected at least 6 successful motion cycles to average them as representative parameters or gate parameters for each condition. To calculate joint kinematics, we modeled the lower limbs as 7 rigid segments, which are connected with 3 joints, hip, knee, and ankle. The hip is modeled as 3 degrees of freedom, the knee and the ankle as a single degree of freedom, which is flexion and extension. Then the rigid segments are connected in joint centers. The joint center are defined as regression equation based on external skin marker we had collected data from, and then we defined anatomical joint references as recommended in the Society of Biomechanics, International Society of Biomechanics, and then joint ankles were calculated using inverse kinematics analysis. All data were normalized to a stride period of 10% to represent the stand phase of the stair ascent cycle. And for analysis and comparison, we develop or we calculate joint angle at initial contact, the range of motion, and basically gate parameters on in the maximum and minimum joint flexion extension as defined or detected from peak detection algorithm, and all calculations were done using MATLAB software. As results, comparing different parameters of gate from gate analysis, gate joint, hip joint flexion extension, abduction, adduction, and internal external rotation, and basically flexion and extension of the knee and the ankle in different heel conditions and walking conditions. So as results, first, the range of motions are compared between barefooted and moderate and high thin and wedge heels. So first results for all heels combined, we can conclude that when using high heel or when the heel height increases, we have reduced ankle joint range of motion, more accentuated when using high heels of 8.5 centimeters. We observed also a larger knee joint range of motions and a slight increase of hip joint range of motion. But when we compare wedge heel to thin heels and also barefooted, we have observed a slight larger knee joint range of motion, basically with mean difference of 0.8 and 2.7 when comparing moderate and high heel or high wedged heel. And we observed also a decrease of knee flexions when comparing to thin heels, and basically around 30 degrees of decreases. And finally, we observed a little higher hip flexion for both moderate and high heel when using wedge support. For gait determinant, here we will define gait determinant in different or in two phases of gait stair cycle. The weight acceptance between 0 and 15% of gait cycles, in which we have observed first that an excessive plantar flexion of the knee is more accentuated when using thin heel compared to wedge one. And as heel increases, we have 2.5 and 8.4 degrees of plantar flexion increases. For the knee flexion at the initial contact, basically for thin wedge, we have more flexed knee in the initial contact, around 38.2 degrees and 42.8 degrees compared to 25 degrees required for barefooted. This increase in knee flexions may be needed for the whole support and to support foot for to let the other side to move to pull up. For the knee, for the hip flexion, we observe that at the initial contact, the hip is slightly with the reduced deflection, even when using moderate wedge heels. Such observation is quietly not sorry. This observation or this reduction may induce some modifications what we had to develop or to evaluate in transversal and frontal plane. Maybe some pelvis rotations and abductions to compensate the such reducing of hip flexion and to let the body to move around the other sides and to
دكتورة تيسير 2 minutes please.
Okay. And then the other side foot to be placed to perfectly. And finally, in the second phase, which is the pull-up and forward continuous of the foot, around 65% of gait cycles, we observe that to lift vertically, the knee have to be extended up to 15 degrees, and also the ankle is slightly more dorsiflexed with wedge heels to let easier foot placement, and also the knee is more flexed with thin heel compared to wedged to prepare the swing phase of the studied left or the studied side to allow the body to move and to maintain balance. So as conclusions, even when with stair ascent, when using high heels, it's still harmful for the body because all joints are altered to move successfully move the leg to the next stair steps, and it requires an increase of knee flexion to compensate the ankle plantar flexions. And compared to thin heels, wedged may give some feel of comfort because the foot is more supported, and but some compensatory mechanics in the frontal and transverse plane have to be further studied. And to conclude, as a perspective to evaluate the harmful or the damage on the different joints, we have to evaluate energy expenditure and also muscle activation around different joints. For this, we have to evaluate or to measure the contact reaction forces when using instrumented stairs, or maybe smart insole as wearable technology and the musculoskeletal modeling technology to evaluate chronic joint pains, basically in lower limbs, but also the trunk and the different joint of on intervertebral joint to evaluate or to predict the damages and eventually potential pains. So thank you for your attention, and
thank you very much, Dr. Tayseer. We will see if we can take 1 or 2 questions. حدا بيحب يسأل؟ تفضل أستاذ.
Thank you for your smart lecture, Professor. Is it possible, in your opinion, to contact the artificial suspensions with nerves, and thank you, for more easier of movement. I said, is it impossible to contact the nerves with artificial suspensions to move the, or to make the movement more easier? Not muscles, but nerves.
تاخذ إشارة الماء تاخذ إشارة
I don't really get the question, but I think that when you have some artificial limbs or muscles, we have to further study neuromechanics alteration and modifications to come up with the design of
Thank you.
سؤال ثاني. No more questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Tayseer. Nice having you here in Damascus online.
Thank you.
Thanks.